Go live.
All right, we're back. This is the Tax Review Commission again. Calling the meeting to order. It's 2:03 Hawaii time, May 26, 2026. This is a meeting of the Tax Review Commission, and this meeting was provided appropriate public notice under the Sunshine Law of the state of Hawaii. So first thing, I want to call the roll. Same as always, we'll announce we're present and state whether we're unaccompanied in the room. So I'll call the roll. This time in ascending order based on the number of letters in your first name. So first up, very efficient with only 3 letters, John Yasuda.
Present.
And?
Unaccompanied. No one in my room.
Cool. Next up, 4 letters, Mark Fukunaga.
I'm here and I'm alone.
Fantastic. All right, tied for third, 6 letters, Judith Chalk.
I'm here and alone.
Cool. And also 6 is Stacy Katakura.
I'm here and alone.
Great. And next up with 7 letters, Jessica Enos.
I'm here and alone.
Cool. And Jeffrey Uyoka.
Present and alone. Thank you.
Cool. And dead last is me with 8 letters. I'm here and I'm unaccompanied in this room. All right, full house. So we have a quorum. Thanks for being here. I have, before we move on, I have a couple housekeeping things. First, I had asked Cynthia about this after our last meeting, and I got an answer. And that's about seconding motions. We're using Robert's rules, as y'all know probably. And generally, Roberts requires a second. But there's a provision for small boards and commissions like us that allows us to skip having seconds. So I asked about that. Answer I got back is that we qualify for that. So unless there's some objection, I'm going to dispense with asking for seconds for motions. Unless I don't see any objection. Cool. We'll be operating under the more streamlined process provided in section 49 of Robert's Rules of Order. So that's the first thing. Next is Cynthia Johiro, who y'all know has been assisting us. She's moved to a different division of the department, I think. And so she's leaving the tax division. So she's no longer going to be helping us out. And I've known Cynthia for a long time, since 2008, when I was a volunteer in the tax division of the AG's office. I was still in law school. It's almost 20 years ago, 25 years old. Final semester of law school, volunteer, and they got funding, and I ended up working there part-time while I was studying for the bar and everything. So really cool. They really took care of me, and Cynthia was a part of that. So some fond memories from a long time ago with Cynthia. So it was really cool that she was assigned to help us with this. And so I hate to see her go, but Cynthia, best of luck to you if you're watching this. But we're not being left alone. We got a new Attorney General, part of the tax division. That's Michael Dunford. You can see him on the screen there, who I also know, but I've not known him as long as I've known Cynthia. So welcome, Michael. He'll be on our calls and set us straight if we go wrong. If you have questions for him, you can get his contact information from Bybars. So welcome, Michael. So a couple things, no more seconds for motions. So you'll notice that. And then we've lost Cynthia, but we've picked up Michael Dunford. All right, any comment on that? All right, cool. So first real item of the agenda is communication to the commission and public comment. Bybars, have we received any communication to the commission?
There was no communication received, and I have the Q&A and chat box open just in case anyone would like to comment. We have only one attendee, and it was the other economist from our office.
Okay.
Yvonne Chow. So cool. Yeah, we don't seem to have any other attendees currently.
All right. Cool. As I always say, you can submit public comment in writing. There's information for that on the webpage. You can join our meetings and provide public comment and input live with us anytime. So without hearing anything, moving on, discussion and vote on the minutes of the prior meeting. So let's consider those. The minutes are always online and are sent out by department staff. There's also a recording of the meetings if you want to have a look at that. If you haven't had a chance to review the minutes and you want more time, we can make time for that. Are there any changes to the minutes right now? Minutes from the previous meeting? any requests for more time or anything like that? All right, I'm good too. So not hearing anything, let's approve the minutes. I heard last time that we can kind of approve the minutes based on lack of objection. So if there's any, unless there's objection, let's consider the minutes approved by acclamation. All right, minutes approved from last meeting. Moving right along. The next agenda item is we're going to hear from Bybars on the results of the legislative session. A little update. Bybars, are you ready?
Yes, yes, I
Right.
am. Yeah, I mean, the purpose of this is just to give a brief update as the commission is starting, I mean, or working through its objectives. Things do change, right? So these were quite relevant. I picked up the ones with significant impact, and just want to provide a brief presentation, but we can elaborate on at future meetings. So I'll try to keep this brief. Can you all see my slides? And this
can.
will be posted on the TRC website as usual and shared with all of you. I was updating them up till the last minute, so please be patient with me. So the main one is the tax cut bill. Act 46 that passed in 2024. This was the largest tax cut in the state's history. Starting with about 200 million in fiscal 25, all the way up to 1.4 billion. This is the cost. It would be expected. And then considering that the total individual income tax collections are 3.2 billion, this would be cutting 1/3 of that revenue source. What happened is so far, we have almost quadrupled the standard deduction amounts as of, we're in calendar year 26. So effective this year, the withholding allowances were updated one more time. So this got reflected in everyone's paychecks if they're on a W-2 wage earners, and the tax brackets expanded as of calendar year 25, which was also reflected in the withholding taxes, but also when people filed their taxes this year, this is when they realized that all the tax liabilities have gone down, which was estimated to cost about $600 million to the state. Just to give a little sense, this is how the brackets have changed. More or less, all the brackets have moved up by 2 brackets. So let's say a family making 80,000 was in bracket 8, paying 7.9% marginal rate. After the changes last year, they were in the 7.2% bracket. So the impact is effectively the tax liability of everyone involved has gone down, but the impact is more concentrated on the lower income. So just to get a sense of the distribution of the taxpayers, most taxpayers before the changes, about 25.5%, were in the 8.25 tax bracket, which is a bit above the average, so tax bracket 9. After the changes, the majority of the taxpayers are now in the lowest tax bracket, and followed by the middle 7.6% tax bracket. So we see a bit more progressive, benefiting more the ones on the lower end of the distribution. We talked a little bit about this before, but to kind of get an idea of this distribution, this is the reduction. This is the tax liability of different taxable income brackets. And although the 11% tax bracket, the one that is currently in store, constitute about 1.7% of all Hawaii's taxpayers, they pay 41% of all individual income taxes in the state. So we have a highly progressive individual income tax system, the higher the income, the proportionally the higher the tax liability. And what is happening now is Senate Bill 3125 actually got signed into law. So there were some proposals to modify the future tax cuts that were under Act 46. So this just passed, was approved by the governor as of last Thursday, while we were having the Council on Revenues meeting, actually. And so what this modification does, this is going to be now Act 24. It kind of has this impact where most of the tax cuts are still retained. And there's even a bit more reduction in the tax rates, the second and third tax brackets, from 3.2 to 2.5% and from 5.5% to 5%. But all the brackets for single earners above 175 and joint earners above 350,000 is frozen at the same rates as they were in 2025. Plus, now we have a new tax bracket, the 13% top tax bracket, which kicks in for single earners above 500,000 taxable income and joint earners above 1 million taxable income. Okay, just to give an example. So what does this mean? We talked about, okay, how much tax relief we're talking about. Let's take a family of 4, an Alice family, so-called, with relatively low income, low to moderate income. The tax relief under the Act 46 previously would be about 71% of their previous tax liability. So if there were no changes, they would be liable for $5,000 in taxes. After Act 46, their liability would be going down to $1,400. With this Act 24, it is slightly more tax relief. So their tax relief is by about 73.5%. So while it expanded the benefit for lower earners, if you look at the ones that are above that freezing level, so remember, above 350,000 joint earners, the brackets were frozen at their 2025 levels. So we see that impact. So what happens is, under Act 46, the tax relief would be about 28.3%. Under Act 24, it will be 26.7%. So slightly less tax relief, but there is still tax relief as compared to if there were no tax cuts. So how about the impact of the new top 13% bracket? So let's take a family of 4, this time with 1.5 million taxable income. What you see is that starting in 2027, which is when the new tax brackets kick in, their tax liability actually goes up. And however, this is still less than what they would have paid under before if there were no tax cuts. So pre-Act 46 levels, if you compare it to that, it's still less. It's a modest decline in tax liability, but compared to what would have happened under Act 46, they actually have higher liability under the current bill. Overall, their tax deduction will be about 3%, whereas it would have been 14.3% under Act 46. So I guess the new modification kind of conserves the tax cuts for most of the taxpayers, if you look at it in terms of the numbers. And on the other hand, it actually increases the tax liability of really high earners, which make up a very small fraction of all the taxpayers in Hawaii. So let's take the example of taxable income of 10 million you see that actually they will be paying 15% more as compared to what they would have paid if there were no tax cut bills. So this is kind of the lay of the land. And what this does is, I mean, there are so many numbers here, but again, you'll have these slides later. I don't need to go through all the little details. What matters is in 27, so this is where we started, what I mentioned so far. But in 27, the majority of the taxpayers will be in tax bracket 1, the lowest income tax bracket, followed by tax bracket 6. So we have a movement from a benefit mostly for low and middle income earners, but some increased liability of the high income earners. Same thing in 29 and thereafter, the number of people in the lowest tax bracket are even larger. And this time, the second largest tax group is tax bracket 5, 6.8%. So the impact is overall, the tax liability goes down. In terms of just focusing on the revenue impact, though, remember I mentioned at the beginning that the revenue impact was starting at 600 million, going all the way up to 1.4 billion. This new bill basically claws back about 100 million annually. And part of that is, most of that is coming from adding this top 13% tax bracket. The caveat is this analysis does not take into account any behavioral responses. So if if a bunch of really high income earners were to change their residency from Hawaii to some other state, we could actually end up with a smaller revenue gain here. So that's the caveat, but that's just the tax bracket section. The other important section is there's some tax credits that were selectively sunset or repealed. The two major ones are the Renewable Energy Technologies Income Tax Credit. So as you may know, as the solar credit. So it puts a $40 million aggregate cap on the renewable energy tax credit for the first 4 years, and then it's completely repealed as of calendar year 2031. The second largest one is the capital goods excise tax credit, and that one goes away, also affecting in fiscal year 2029. Just to give you a sense, this is from our tax credits report. So we monitor. So the one thing that our office does is we monitor all the exemptions and tax credits and compile statistics on all of them. We give descriptions. We slice the data in various ways. But the one thing that we do not do is evaluate whether these tax credits are working or they meet their purpose or not. That one is handled by the Office of the State Auditor. There was one bill where like DBET is going to be also involved in making such recommendations. I know the commission has talked about this and is one of the important areas, but I just want to bring that up. So whether DBET needs to evaluate or the state auditor's office, tax research and planning is the one who supplies all these aggregated data. And so we would be doing that for the commission as well. So as you can see, the renewable energy tax credit was about 100 million or a little over 100 million over the years. And then the capital goods excise tax credit is around 30, 35, 40 million. So I can talk more about these as commission's work carries forward. But I just want to also point out that while some tax credits were repealed, some others were expanded. So for instance, the film credit, both the individual and aggregate cap has been increased. So effectively, it was costing about 50 million a year. Now it would be costing about 60 million for Hawaii's taxpayers. The other one that the commission had talked about, which was one of the topics that the commission wanted to look at, is related to affordable housing. So the low-income housing tax credit has also been expanded. Basically, it made it provided a bit more flexibility of how these tax credits can be allocated, and kind of trying to create more financing opportunities for from those taxpayers that have a tax liability, so they can purchase these credits from those that may not have tax liability. In effect, creating more liquidity for the developers. And that is expected to cost around another $60 million a year, in addition to what it used to cost. There is this, the other one that might be relevant, again, one of the concurrent resolution of the House and Senate that they had, the recommendations was to talk about the impact of federal tax bills and the interaction between the federal tax bills and Hawaii's tax bills. So every year, the tax department is tasked with providing recommendations. As you know, in 2025, there was the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act, OBA, OB3, there are various names for this. So basically, we evaluated several of these provisions that are in the federal tax code, the IRC, and a conformity bill was put together. Just to give you a sense of it, there were some changes made where we conformed with the IRS in terms of the itemized deductions, in terms of charitable deductions, but and the other one, a new one, some of the new provisions from the OB3 bill is the deduction for tip income. So we did conform with this, and the so-called Trump accounts, or this new tax exempt accounts for children. We conformed with these. While we conformed with these, we did not conform, for instance, with the deduction for overtime pay, and or the interest on car loans. On the corporate and business side, we did conform with things like the limitation on business interest. However, we did not conform to the I'm trying to find we decoupled from the IRC regarding the bonus depreciation and estate and gift tax exemption amounts. So federally, it has been permanently raised to $15 million, but in Hawaii, we still stuck with the 2017 levels at 5.49 million. So this is just to give you an idea, but the whole list is on the is basically in our department's testimony for House Bill 2329. And, I can have more details later on, but this is already more than enough for the time being, just to give you a sense of what's going on at the legislature that might be relevant for Commission's ongoing work. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Baibars. Questions and reactions to that? See a couple people unmuted here.
Baybars, just if possible, and only because I'm guessing your staff has already done the work. On the brackets, it'd be interesting to see what proportion of revenue comes from each bracket.
Mhm.
In addition to the incidence rate of tax, the total aggregate tax collection from each bracket would I think it'd just be an interesting framing.
Right. So yeah, the one slide there did do that for 2026. But we can definitely, I can definitely, this is one area where I'll be doing more work, so I'm happy to share the ongoing analysis.
Great.
I might be putting together a blog post on this so that there's, some accessible information. Our reports tend to be 70, 80 pages long with tons and tons of tables. So sometimes these blog posts help with just highlighting one or two things only. Any other questions? Jonathan, you're muted. Sorry.
Fail. I was muted. I was asking if anybody has any other questions, and then I started into my own question. Anybody got any questions? All right. All right, here we go. 5 hours. I was curious about, I guess what I expected to see was that the suspension of credits would happen right away, is part of like what they were trying to do to balance the budget. So is that been done years out? Because it's basically going to help balance those years, and the income tax changes were enough, or the income tax bracket changes that you went through were enough for this year. Is that accurate?
I believe so. Yeah, I think the revenue need was more for out years rather than for the next couple of
Okay.
years. So that might have been, but I do not know the main reason. It might also be that there's some transitionary period that might be needed for people to adapt.
Okay.
But again, these are my educated guesses.
Sure. And did I hear you say that with the 2026 changes that you just went through with the income tax brackets and stuff,
Mhm.
that the income tax became more progressive,
Yes,
and that is compared to before 2024 changes, or is that compared to after the 2024 changes?
compared to before 2025. Yeah, so like compared to 24 and before. Yeah,
Okay.
it has become even more progressive.
Okay. Compared to the previous. All right. Cool. Uh, I wanted to add, unless there's any more questions, for Vibars on that presentation. All right. I want to add a bill to the list, and that is HB 1804. That bill I've been tracking, and that's about the find my notes on it. That's about long-term care financing. So the Senate concurrent resolution was from last year, 2025, requested the Tax Review Commission to look at long-term care financing. I've been bringing this up. That bill passed, hasn't been signed yet. I'd be surprised if it gets vetoed, but it requires the Executive Office on Aging to develop a framework and a scope of work on a study to examine the impacts and feasibility and costs and stuff for public and private financing options for long-term care. So there's no appropriation. It's just a requirement for the Executive Office on Aging, which I guess is part of the Department of Health, to develop that. The words is framework and scope of work for a study. So I guess the reason I'm bringing this up, to me, that kind of takes that out of our remit, even though that was, I mean, we didn't have to cover what the Senate concurrent resolution requested. And there hadn't been a lot of interest on our side, but since it was a Senate concurrent resolution, I was trying to track it. But do y'all kind of see it? How do y'all see that? Does that kind of take it off our plate, or is there still a role for us? And we can discuss this later if you want to. We don't have to. You don't have to be on the spot right now.
I guess I'd volunteer that we've got bigger fish to fry.
Thanks, Mark. Jessica, please.
Yeah, so I guess I was asked that question of like what are we looking at? And so I thought that yeah, we were assigned that topic, so that was like something assigned to us, and I, I don't know. I feel like they're very, like we should be doing what we're told to do. So I mean, can we just say it sounds like you guys assigned it to someone else, so we're good?
I think I have some thoughts on that. We have I don't want to crowd everybody else out. We have a agenda topic later that can discuss some stuff that happened at the confirmation hearing. I see the role of the Senate in one way, and some of y'all might see it another way. But so I mean, we can discuss that and have it out. I think that might come up at a later agenda item. But that's out there. That bill's likely to get signed by the governor, and the Executive Office of Aging will be studying it. So wanted to bring that to y'all's attention. Not to put you off, Jessica, but I think we're going to discuss that more under a different agenda item. I don't want to jump anybody. All right. Without objection, I'm going to move on. The next one is any report from the evaluation committee regarding our consultants and our request for professional services. So I'll just put Judy, Mark, and Bars on the spot on this topic. Any of y'all? Any update?
I think Mark and Judy can talk about it, but just I'll just share the screen about the fact and that that has been posted on the website. We do have the public notice to providers of professional services. This is posted on the TRC website. It is also posted on the state's main framework for posting such notices. I just want to bring that up, and then we will definitely need at least 3 applicants for each of these topics. So we all have some work to do to encourage, reach out to different potential consultants that could work on these. So, but I want to pass it on to Mark and Judy to comment on this.
Judy, you want to
Right.
go?
No, I think yeah, we concluded that the topics. I mean, before posting, Mark and I look at all the topics, and we came up and made some modifications before the posting. So, yeah, and looking at the timeline, I think right now we just posted it. So I guess we haven't heard anything, right? By bars, and we haven't really received anything at this point.
No, not yet. So it's been posted, but people wouldn't be sitting and waiting for something like this. So we have to actively actually solicit people, different consultants or groups to actually apply. Yeah, we do have some dates. I mean, there's some flexibility, but the idea was to move as fast as possible. So that's what we prioritize. As Judy mentioned, the topic 2 language has been slightly modified. But it's basically, the evaluation committee selection and committee was tasked with making such language changes. And then the other thing just I want to highlight is, so the applicants can apply for topic 1, topic 2, or both. So we cannot restrict it to just one. It's a bit of a tight timeline, but these are the suggested ones that we would need to post at least a month, and then they have an opportunity to send us questions, and then we would respond to these questions within a week. And then the final due date will be July 7th. So we want to get this out, get it started as soon as possible so that the commission can have a meaningful, I guess, study to digest and incorporate into their recommendations.
And Bay Bars, if I recall, if we want to consider you hero,
Yes.
that is a separate process from the a minimum of 3 bidders plus, I think, a lot of the process steps.
That is
Correct?
correct. That is correct. So if hero could take one or two of these tasks or whatnot, that could save us time. That is correct.
Yeah, I'll just raise it for the committee. I mean, I don't know if we have to decide now, but I have talked with Carl Bonham, not specifically around this. I mean, we're talking about a bunch of other things, but he did say UHERO would be interested in doing the work. They are coincidentally bringing aboard a tax expert, a professor in tax, to their group, but that person will not join UHERO until August. Nonetheless, I think there is some benefit to using UHERO just because they've done so much work on the economy and on taxes before. So it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel to get them up to speed. You know, they can kind of hit the ground running. The state already uses them for, you know, general revenue projections. You know, I think a lot of people would say they really are the most respected consulting group in the state. So I can continue to have that conversation with Carl while we, I guess, in parallel do the more traditional, see if we can get 3 bidders and run both processes in parallel. Is that something that you all would feel comfortable with?
Yes, I feel very comfortable with that. I think there's major benefits to UHERO getting involved with one or the other or both.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love to hear this.
They could hit the ground running. I mean, which is, you know, given where we are, I think a real benefit.
Yes.
So now that we have the, I guess, a more official description, if Mark, I mean, you would want to take the lead, that would really help, I think, like to see if they would be interested in. I mean, there's no question about the qualification of hiring UHERO professors and researchers. I just was not sure if they would have the time or availability. So if we can get them on board, I would add to your support that, yeah, I would definitely vouch for them as well.
Yeah, I'll ask Carl. My impression was they could start doing the work, but the real you know, the real boost to their capability would be this new person coming in.
Okay. Oh, well, this agenda item, I think the evaluation committee's been a little bashful. Also, I'll make my version of their update is that they edited the documents, they edited the prompts, they got them finalized, and they got the whole thing posted for us. So thanks a lot for that. That's why we asked to have a evaluation committee, and we got 2 great volunteers, and it's great work. I'm very happy about it being up there and starting that process. I was able to exhale when I saw that go up. So thank you very much. And then the UHERO thing could just be, you know, can make it even better if that ends up panning out.
And maybe just, if I could just ask, just to be sure, Michael, I mean, there's no problem in having a parallel process where we're talking to UHERO, fleshing out questions from them, but, you know, the other timetable for public bidding may not be happening yet, but it's okay to do both tracks simultaneously?
Off the top of my head, I'll have to look at that and get back to you. Unfortunately, I'm mostly a tax litigator guy, not so much a procurement guy.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, I don't know of a reason why it would not be permitted. I'll take a look at that and try to get back to you guys within the next week, 10 days.
Michael, you might contact BIBARS. I think Emil might, you know, other staff, like procurement staff at the department, might have some input.
That would be even better, honestly.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the procurement side has been, we've been working with the Administrative Services Office and then the State Procurement Office. I would also have to check. Yeah, I responded in the affirmative, but yeah, I think Michael is right that we need to be sure.
Mhm. All right. Cool. All right. Anything else for the for or from the evaluation committee? All right. So our next topic is a discussion about our confirmation hearing last month, about a month ago, and it's 2:43. So I want to start this topic. We're likely to maybe go into our break in this topic. This could take a while, depending on how it goes. So just this was added to the agenda to cover, discussion of that hearing and any follow-up to that. So I mean, that's my introduction of the topic. Judy, do you want to introduce what you think about this topic or kick us off here, or you want me to just, I don't want to get in, as I stated earlier, I got some positions on these things. I don't want to crowd everybody out.
Are we talking about the hearing, the topics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hearing general.
Yeah, hearing. So I know everybody experienced what happened during the hearings, and I think we're just trying to discuss what topics we should really talk about. I think Jessica brought it up earlier, so now it's the opportunity maybe we can discuss. I think the senators mentioned about the tax online platform, and if we need to, if we have any recommendations to the platform. I think should we add to our topics, and maybe we should have provided some recommendations on that topic as well, if you guys agree. Um, and another thing that was, I think Barbara talked about all the credits. I'm thinking, because there's so many credits there, should we narrow down just, diving maybe 2 to 3 credits instead of looking at all of these credits? But I mean, that's just my thoughts. And also, as Jonathan mentioned, that maybe look at those sunset the credits and what we should really look into. Maybe we can come up with a couple ideas what credits are sunsetting, and what recommendations we should give the state. So that's just my thoughts. It's open for everybody else to chime in and see if you have any other ideas. Because basically, I think we just want to have the same direction as the senators. They mentioned, we just don't want to be like completely off topic, or if they think the priority should be more on like a capital goods excise credit, or on the other child credit, or whatever, the topics. I think they probably think it should be more like a priority. Um, um, okay, any other thoughts? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Right. Thanks, Judy. I do, but I want to wait for everybody else, as I've said before.
All right, I'll talk. So, I guess I came to this commission thinking that I was to come to these meetings and give my input. I don't know. I know I was asked, like, we're supposed to be in contact with the senators, and we should be taking into consideration what they want us to do, and not just what we think we ought to think about. And so I was asked, how are we going to communicate? Through a memo, through a res? I honestly don't even know what that is. So that's beyond my knowledge of. I came to give my input based on my background. So I
Okay.
think there is a big desire for the senators to be in communication with us and telling us what we should be doing. So I said I would bring that back and figure out how that is to get done, because maybe, yeah, what we think we're talking about is totally not what they are thinking they want us to look at. So somewhere we need to get into alignment, and who's going to talk to them and how does that work?
All right. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't wait any longer. I'm glad you brought that back, Jessica. I heard that at the hearing. I listened to every word at the hearing. I went back and watched it again on the online. I think that the Senate has a role of advice and consent on our nominations. That's not a role of direction or dictation. So, Jessica, your initial read, I think, is correct, that we are appointed to the Tax Review Commission to bring our priorities and what we think is best for the state and what we think should be looked at and studied to the commission. I don't think we have to stop and turn on a dime to cover something that's not a priority to us. So I think if they give us ideas and we like those ideas, I was asked about stuff at the hearing. I was asked about stuff in individual meetings with senators. And there's the Senate concurrent resolution as well, which is the primary way, and they passed that last session. But I don't think we should look at this, and I'm not speaking against any topic. I haven't mentioned any topics, but I don't think we should look at this as like we need to respond to what their priorities are. And if I'm in the minority, I'm in the minority. It's 7 of us here, so I'm gonna stop there. Anybody else? I saw Mark unmuted.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jonathan. I mean, so I was in Beijing, and one should not connect to Wi-Fi in Beijing for security reasons. So my cell connection wasn't good enough. So Donovan put me to the back of the line. So unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to say anything. But I did, as you all did, respond to the questions. And I guess the first one was about, collections. I said I didn't think that was what the Tax Review Commission was supposed to be about. And specifically, under the Constitution, we're actually created under the Hawaii State Constitution, which says that the commission shall submit to the legislature an evaluation of the state's tax structure, which to me is not about execution or the efficacy of collections. So I think in terms of the real authority for us, it comes out of the Constitution and the statutes, and it really talks about tax policy and tax structure. It doesn't really talk about collections. I also said in my written response that I don't think this commission is really designed to address that question properly. I mean, if you're going to examine that, you really need to have, I think, IT experts and digital experts in terms of how the website could be improved. You also need, I think, ideally retired state tax administrators who could compare collection stats and metrics with DOTAX. And I don't think we have that expertise. I just said, I don't think this is what the Constitution or the statute contemplates, nor do I think this is the right body if this is what you really want to do. And finally, I said the best thing you could probably do to improve collections is start to employ AI, particularly agentic AI. And that's a whole different can of worms. But if you really want to make collections efficient, that's where you'd go. And I submitted that answer and still got confirmed. So whatever that's worth. So, and then on the tax credit question, I do think that's an area for us, but I don't think it should really be a individual one-by-one review of each tax credit. I think that's too hard. I mean, you have to get into all the underlying policies of whether it's film or renewable energy, and that's already been done by other people in passing the credit. So to me, our role is more to come up with a framework and methodology to evaluate tax credits and potentially a process to sunset them if the review doesn't pass muster. That methodology doesn't apply, doesn't show it's working. So I think that one is front and center part of tax structure and tax policy. But I don't think we have the time, or again, I don't think it's the best use of our time to look at the individual credits as opposed to a more general framework.
Yeah, the credit question is built into our competitiveness prompt as well. I said the same thing about admin at the hearing about like just general admin questions, collections and stuff like that. You know, I didn't think this particular commission was, you know, super well suited to answer that, but that's not, I'm not, you know, driving against that topic or any of the other topics. Cause I mean, I got several other topics that were mentioned at the hearing that were mentioned by individual senators. But just going back to what Jessica led with, like she said, I came to this commission, you know, thinking XYZ about my priorities and stuff like that. And I think that is exactly right, despite how the hearing went. I mean, I was talking to my brother right before the hearing and he was like, oh, what do you have going? You know, and I was like, well, this could, you know, he's like, what's the deal? You know, I was like, well, this could take 30 minutes or it could take 3 hours. And so that, you know, and it took 3 hours. If it had happened the next day or 2 hours later or a week before, or a week later, it could have taken 30 minutes. So I think we've worked hard over the last 5 meetings in this one. I think we should be confident in what we've done. And if you heard topics from individual senators in individual meetings or at the hearing that you feel like we should cover, then you should present them and we can determine if we're going to cover them. It's not off limits because the senator mentioned it. I'm not trying to say that, but as far as pivoting, turning on a dime based on what was said at the hearing, I think I don't think that's part of the process. It's not direction and dictation, it's advice and consent. Jessica,
I forgot what I was gonna say.
okay. Well, I'll filibuster for you. Number
yeah.
2, like Jessica, like you were first up in the room. I want to say this. I don't care if it's public. You were first up in the room and you caught it for that reason. It would have been the same for me. It would have been the same for Jeff. It would have been the same for anybody else. The first person up live in the room was fixing to catch it, and that's what happened.
And you have my apology.
That's just how it goes.
You have my apology, Jessica, because I was supposed to be first.
Well, Stacy was up too in front.
I think it's the live. It's the being in that room that
difficult
really
to be in front of there.
And yeah, I asked like 3 different people before going because this is so new to me. I'm so green. Being the first one up, I didn't even know if I could sit. I didn't even know if I was supposed to sit in the seat or not, you know, and so yeah, and that it really wasn't supposed to be much of anything. So I had nothing planned, and yeah, I got asked way more than I had any knowledge of or understanding of,
well, I thought you went up there and sat down and delivered your opening statement. It was just right. And then you answered the questions the best way you could, and said you'd bring stuff back to the commission. That's exactly what you did today. So excellent, in my opinion. I mean, I wasn't like, you know, freaking out about the hearing from anybody's thing. I mean, and I got lucky, you know, I got to go after the cabinet nominee went, you know, so they were already tired by the time. So they, plus I wasn't there in person. Anybody else want to go? And then we're going to break, and then I'm going to come back to this at the end. I'm not going to cut this short. But while we have momentum, anybody else want to go for it? Stacy, you're unmuted. So.
Yeah, the only thing I was just going to echo what both you and Jessica said too, is just that, you know, when I was asked to consider joining the commission, I read the the constitutional description of what the purpose of the commission, and it was, I think what sticks out to me is that it's a body that convenes once every 5 years, and it's to set policy and not you know, not get involved in the administration or execution of the policy. So I kind of felt that what a lot of what the senators were bringing up were more administrative in nature, and that and outside of the scope of what I thought I signed up for as well.
May I just say one thing? I just so this is not my place, but I just want to express my appreciation and gratitude to all of you for serving and providing this public service. So these hearings can go any which way, which was a surprise to me as well. So if you felt like you didn't get enough support, it was a surprise to me. That's the reason why. So I just want to encourage you to not take any of this personally, and that I just want to express my gratitude for providing this service, completely volunteer service. So
Yeah, you gotta pay us more.
It was definitely an experience, but yeah, I did actually have a lot of support after that from a lot of people that were there, and even got called the following day from people that were in the galley, and so it just and everybody's like, oh yeah, don't take it personal. It's like, because I've never done that before, and I was like, so you're supposed to put on that show? What was that? I was like, I don't even understand what that was. But yeah, so anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure all of us still want to help, and that's why we joined this commission. Yeah, so and we also want to do our best with our, background and experiences. So, but the only thing I'm thinking is how we can better serve, right, on this commission, and if the senators they do have some topics or directions they want us to communicate with them, but I just want to make sure there is no conflict and we are actually listening and we are willing to do what they suggest, and but we also have our own suggestions and the directions, as Jonathan mentioned, that there is I just want to make sure that we don't have conflict, and next time if when a senator meeting comes again, and what are we going to tell them, they say, between the last hearing and now, and what we have done, and so we hopefully we can be more prepared and to answer more questions from them.
I do think, I mean, I think we're all in agreement here, but I do think it would be good for us to maybe do, every 2-month check-in. Maybe, subject to the sunshine laws, check in with, Donovan, the chair, and probably the vice chair of the committee, not so much to take marching orders, but say, hey, this is what the commission's doing. Because, ultimately, whatever we deliver, I'd want the WAM as well as House Finance members to be receptive. So I feel like if we keep them apprised of what we're doing and why we're doing it, I think they'll look at the report more, more in a more serious way than if we're kind of radio silent. Then they get the report and they go, what? There's nothing here about the stuff we asked for, and then and no one reads it. So I just think that's an opportunity for us to kind of align, what we're both trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So we just keep the communication open with the senators and keep them posted. What are we having achieving, and what are we having communicating and working on? So that's a good idea.
And I'd include House Finance too. Again, subject to the sunshine law.
Yes, they were clear on that. They wanted a line of communication with us. So I think we need to figure out how that's done.
Right.
Exactly. Like, what does that mean? Who's going to do that? Who's going to talk to them, or how does that work?
Okay.
Just to remind you, if you go back, it's been a while, to the first presentation that I had given, I have kind of like Cliff's Notes version of the Sunshine Law and what the commission can do and cannot do, and groups of two can talk about. So there's like special rules about that, and I'm pretty sure that that is all permissible. And then the copies of the House concurrent resolution and the Senate resolution that Jonathan referred to, they are all posted on the TRC website. So I know it was a lot for the first day, but if you ever have the time and want to go back and review those are available. I just want to remind briefly. Thank you.
So when we say two people, Bay Bars, what if we're meeting with, let's say, you know, the WAM chair and vice chair? Does that count as part of the two, or?
Hey, I'll defer to Mr. Dunford, of course, but my life before this was I was a deputy corporation counsel, so I'm a little familiar with the Sunshine Law on Maui. So basically, we're not allowed to talk to each other, basically, or commit to votes outside of a meeting. So two of you going to talk to two non-committee members should be fine. As long as, you know, you're
Non-commission.
updating, you're not seeking the commitment to vote from whoever goes with you.
Super. Thank you, Jeff.
I concur, but yeah, Michael might have more to add.
So what I would suggest probably is that after you basically give me a ring, ask with what you're thinking of is rarely going to go wrong. You know, it's difficult without specifics and specific thoughts to give a clear opinion on it. The other thing I would say is just to kind of second what Baybar said about if you have a chance to go back and take a look. I looked through his presentation on the Sunshine Laws when I was starting to take over from Cynthia. I found it extremely helpful to help me get oriented. I think it's pretty clear, and it should give you a pretty good idea of what is and isn't permissible in terms of contacts outside of the public meeting context.
Okay. Thanks, Michael. So what I'm hearing is two things. I'm hearing one part of it is, you know, communication with the Senate Ways and Means Committee and the House Finance Committee, keep them apprised of what we're doing. The other side is potential topics that we haven't been discussing so far for the last 5 meetings that we want to discuss, that we want to add to the list. That's two separate things. Depending, I mean, I'm assuming we're going to schedule a meeting for about a month from now, if not 2 weeks from now, probably about a month from now, later in this meeting. So I think that's probably too early to reach out to Ways and Means and House Finance and try to keep them apprised of what we're doing. It's pretty quick after the hearing. So I think we can come back to that next time, decide what to do. I mean, I'm happy to be the point of contact initially. I can contact one side or the other. Somebody else can volunteer, contact the other side or something like that. I don't want to dominate it. But we can discuss that, how that'll look when we come back from break and at the next meeting. But I think, but the other issue is the topics. And so we'll have some time the rest of this meeting to discuss if there's new topics that people want to bring up that came up at hearings or in individual meetings. I'm not pushing against any topic. I'm just pushing for the reason behind why we're covering a topic or not covering a topic. It should be because we think it's important, not because because any individual senator wants it covered. If we try to do that, we're just going to be chasing shadows. You know, we could get instruction that's completely different than what we heard at the nomination hearing, confirmation hearing 2 months from now. But if people received ideas that they think are, worthwhile, then by all means, let's discuss them, let's cover them. So as I said before, it's 3:07. I want to take a break and then we're going to come back to this topic. Okay, so I'm not trying to cut this topic short. Want to hear from anybody that wants to have input on this. So why don't we take 10 minutes? So we're 12 minutes, let's say 3:20. We'll come back. Does that work? All right, 3:20, we'll take a break. Rick's going to pause the recording. Turn your mics off, turn your cameras off, and avoid discussing commission business during the break. See you in a little while. All right, bye-bye, we're ready. All right, we're back from our break. Still on agenda item number 6, which is discussion of the follow-up from our confirmation hearing. So we discussed a couple things, line of communication going forward and potential topics going forward if you want to add some topics to the list. I don't want to cut anything short, so that's why I came back to this. Plenty of time here. Anybody? Jessica?
Should we go through, the questionnaire that everybody got just to kind of like, hey, we have addressed it or we're not going to address it. Like it's out of our scope, just so if, whenever we meet back up again with them that, as a group, we've agreed that we're not going to touch these certain topics or if there is anything within here that we should discuss that we do discuss, because I guess this was their one thing they sent us and what they're looking at.
All right. I might not be ready to answer that question up or down today.
Okay.
So just that, but what does everybody else think about going through that, having a look? So we'll think about it for a minute because I want to filibuster here a little bit and say something that might surprise you. I didn't get the questions. I don't know what y'all are talking about. I remember them at the hearing. I remember Chair Dela Cruz saying, we're going to send some questions, follow-up questions. I remember that, and I was looking for it. I didn't get those. So my answers are outstanding right now. And I don't mean good outstanding. I mean not been sent outstanding. So these will be new for me. I might get those later if they, maybe they're watching this after it's posted and I'll see that, sent it in. Or, so anyway, that's my filibuster. What do y'all think about walking through that document? Y'all want to do that today? Y'all want to do that at the next meeting? We do have on our agenda, discussion of topics to study in-house, so this is not, it's not off the wall. And again, I'm just filibustering here. If you're not, like, I'm not comfortable going up and down on some of these, I can foresee that even though I don't know what they are yet. If that's the case, that's fair. We can just introduce them today if y'all want to do that.
Is there anybody else that didn't get it? No, I guess, oh yeah, I guess it was just you. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Mistake. My email, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it's very long. I'm using my personal email for this. So they probably missed a letter on my email or something like that. It's probably responsible for that. Well, I'm not
okay.
hearing any objection, but I'm not hearing any.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't intend for a really long drawn out discussion on each thing. And more kind of like, is it something we cover or no? Yes or no, and then maybe from there dive deeper at another meeting or I don't know. Or maybe we don't need to, I don't know.
I'm not hearing much. So how about this? I don't like dead air. So we can skip number 7, which is continued discussion of topics for hiring consultants. And skip down to discussion of topics for the commission to study in-house. I have a little list here, and we can kind of walk through those. These are different things that people have brought up over the course of the previous 5 meetings. And then that'll tell us where we're at on those things that have come up. And then I'm gonna, if I don't forget, I'll circle back to Jessica's question about looking at the list. Give y'all a little time to think on that, consider that. So we might do that. I want to ask Judy though. Judy, the discussion regarding the confirmation hearing was something I wanted to add to the agenda. So I want you to have ample time to cover this topic and, say what you want to say before we move on.
I think I already mentioned earlier about the hearing topic. We just need to as Mark mentioned, to how we're gonna communicate with the senators, maybe every other month, or how we're gonna communicate with them. And should we come up with some ideas, I guess, all through emails, or we can put something together as like every other month, and just to show what our progress is and what topics we have been working on, and what study we have done, or I guess just keep them posted what we have been doing, and to see if they have any suggestions or directions they want to communicate with us. So that's one thing. And another is as I mentioned, they have several suggestions, like the Hawaii Tax Online platform. Do we want to include it, or do I understand that we still continue our own topics at this point, but do we want to expand a little bit more to add a 1 or 2? Maybe they suggested to our topics on top of our topics, I guess.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I suggest we discuss like going forward communication with the Senate at the next meeting. I don't think we're going to do anything like reach out to them before the next meeting. Be a little early. So should we move down to let me ask you this. Is the state tax online one of the questions they ask? Is that in the list of questions?
There's only 7.
7
I
questions.
can read them out to you because you don't have it.
It was the first one. The first question was about the effectiveness of dough tax collections, I think.
Oh, okay, that's really the admin question.
Yeah.
The question is about whether or not we should review their IT systems. And I just think that's outside the scope of this tax review commission. So I would knock off 1. And then, yeah, I mean, well, anyways, go ahead.
I'm hesitant to drive everybody. If y'all are, I don't know if there's appetite to walk through those 7 questions right now, like Jessica suggested, or not. I'm having a hard time reading y'all.
Yeah, we can do a quick, I don't think it'll take that long. I think why don't we do a quick walkthrough?
Okay.
Because I think some of the questions are just kind of like mother of an apple pie kind of things, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jessica, let's do it. Will you lead that, please?
Sure. So the first question was, does the Tax Review Commission review DOE taxes information technology systems to determine whether they adequately support accurate tax collection, compliance, enforcement, and data analysis? And I just think that's not what we are, that's not our policy review part of that. The second question is, what criteria and process should the commission use to select issues, studies, or projects that may result in the recommendations affecting Hawaii tax law? And to what extent are those selections currently guided by a formal priority setting process versus individual members' interests or expertise? I think we've already discussed this. I don't think we need to
So
hash
the-
that any
it-
further.
So the question is like, what criteria are we using to set our own agenda? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, okay. That question was asked of me at the hearing. I think I misunderstood it. But yeah, understood. Okay, cool.
So, I mean, yeah, I think we have been, I mean, we've kind of discussed that we're trying to look at overview of policies and we're gonna connect to them, and that might help with, I think this question arose just because they felt like we were doing things on our own without hearing what they wanted us to do. So, I think that's that. And then why is the Tax Review Commission necessary if certain studies or analyses may be outsourced to consultants? And
I got a strong opinion. All right, I'm gonna speak up on that one. Y'all have heard me say this since the second meeting, and I want to repeat it. We have been working in overdrive since became the chair to get the prompts together and get them dialed for what we want, so that we can get the report in time, so that we can use that report to make our report. We're not stapling this thing to the back of a cover letter if I can help it. So that's the answer to that question, is we intend to identify priorities, and we intend to, or we have communicated those to a potential consultant and asked them pointed specific questions. With the first one has a lot of pros, the second one has a lot less because it's just by nature more specific about TAT. But to ask them specific questions and for specific pieces of analysis that we will then use to make our recommendations. The people that are going to do these studies are PhD economists, and they're going to come back with PhD economist type stuff. We are not going to be given the ledge PhD economist type stuff. We're going to be giving them tax lawyer and tax practitioner stuff. So that's how I would answer that. That's how I would have answered that question if I'd gotten the question there. I mean, that's where I see that. Like, I remember that question at the hearing, and for Stacy, I think, and especially for Jessica.
so I think we're on the same page. Basically that, yeah, we're not just gonna get a consultant, staple the report to the back of a cover and hand it over to them. We do plan to add value to it, and we plan to, through the consultants, invite expertise that is not within this room and
Exactly.
time that is needed to bring up the information we're asking them to bring up, and then for us to review it, come to a conclusion and a proposal based on what we get. And so I think that's the role we play with the consultants. So,
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
so okay.
What's the next one?
So 5 is which specific, this is something I do think that we can continue discussion on later, but it is which specific taxes or areas of Hawaii's tax code most need to be revisited, restructured, sunset, or expanded, and where does Hawaii have opportunities to provide meaningful tax relief or responsibly generate additional revenue? So yeah, this could be a discussion, so I think we can circle back to this one. Okay.
Yeah, and I
you
think
I think you skipped the question number 4. Just
Oh, I'm so sorry.
want to go back.
Yeah, sorry. 4 was what tax policy or tax administration challenges are unique to Hawaii or more severe in Hawaii than in other states? And are there examples, reforms, or best practices from other states that Hawaii should consider in addressing those challenges? So I think that's something we can incorporate into our agenda of stuff to possibly look at that they're asking us to take a look at.
yeah, that one, 4 and 5, I think we'll get some useful
Yeah,
data.
we can
analysis
reply,
and
we
stuff.
can have future discussion, agenda items to discuss.
Totally, and on our own, and I think we'll also get some valuable stuff from the consultant on point on prompts number 1, competitiveness for that.
Yes,
That'll be relevant to that.
yes.
All right, cool.
So we'll keep 4 and 5 as a discussion item. And then 6, does the commission review the effectiveness and fiscal impact of tax credits, including lost revenue, and what criteria should be used to determine whether a tax credit should be continued, amended, repealed, or allowed to sunset? And I think that will also fall in the study that we've requested and when we kind of look through that, and just in general, I think we can have on our agenda to kind of further look into credits.
Totally.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's built into the one of the prompts, and
Kind of
that's
what we're
on,
doing.
that's on my list of the things we might study in-house as well that I've got on here on my screen.
Yes.
As well, in preparation for what the consultant might say.
Mhm.
There's one more thing I was going to say, but I'm going to skip it. Continue.
Oh, okay. So this, and then this is the last question. How can the Tax Review Commission better work with the legislature to provide meaningful input, identify statutory issues, and support informed tax policy decisions? And I think this is their request to just be in the loop on what we're doing. So that's that. That was the 7 questions. And I think we're going to address, you know, the communication with them. And so I think from the 7, I think we can work on 4, 5, and 6 as agenda items.
Yeah, yeah, it's up to y'all, and we're going to discuss this at the next. We already covered, but number 7, I'll have a lot to say on that when we start getting into that. But we've already.
Yeah, so that, I guess that is, you know, how
Yeah.
are we gonna communicate with them? So, I think you mentioned, I guess it wouldn't be until like at least after the following meeting that we would.
I hope so, but that's what I would hope for. I see several people unmuted, so I want to stop. I want to shut up. Anybody got anything? See Stacy, Judy, and John unmuted, and Mark. Any of y'all, go for it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So silence is
Yeah.
whatever. Can't think of the word. Acceptance or something. All right. So that's good to know. That's what I missed out on. I can't.
Yeah.
It's just so weird that I didn't get these.
Yeah.
It was hilarious earlier when Mark said, you know, that was my answer to such and such question, and I still got confirmed, and I'm thinking like, I didn't answer at all. No fault of my own. I'm saying it right here publicly in case the staff are watching, Ways and Means staff. I did not get the questions, I promise. Okay. All right, cool. So thanks for leading that, Jessica.
Yeah.
And more to come on that. The question 7, I think, is the action. More to come on that.
Did you want to comment on it now while we're on it? And I guess.
Sure. I mean, I've said all this. I've said this before already today. I'm cool with whatever y'all want to do, but so prefacing it with that, I don't want to get in a position where we are like trying to lobby the legislature, and to try to lobby and set up what we're doing based on what they'll pass or what they expect and what lines up with their political priorities. Their question to us at the confirmation hearing about why should we have the Tax Review Commission if you're just going to use a consultant is a fair question. I think we have a good answer back to that, but it's a fair question. And if we're going to be setting this up to lobby or to like align with them so that their political priorities are matched with what we're doing, so it's something they can or something like that, then my question would be the corollary to their question about the consultant would be like, why do you need the Tax Review Commission if that's the point of the Tax Review Commission is to align politically? You know what I mean? I don't want to go that far down that road. And so my vision is something a little bit less substantive, communicating with the chair and vice chair of Ways and Means, chair and vice chair of House Finance. You know, leave it at that. Reach out to them, courtesy call, happy to meet, happy to set up a virtual call and just chat and go back and talk so that they feel like, so that they're getting, so that they know what we're doing. They've got a impression of what we're doing. They know we're thinking about them, and they have that outlet. But as far as like putting together a formal interim report to say like, here's what we're doing. What do you think? Do you want to, we already don't have time to do, I mean, that's not really the point of what I'm saying, but like, that's another part of it is like, we already don't have time to do what we're already trying to do.
Yeah,
So to be jumping in and having a meeting in July with the vice chair of a couple committees and getting direction. Again, I've said it before, it was advice and consent. It's not direction or dictation. It's advice and consent. So to be getting direction in July is like, okay, but like, what's it for? Like
yeah.
What-
I completely agree with you, Jonathan. I don't think we want to
Okay.
either go through a laborious report out, so I would envision, frankly, a half an hour chat just to say what we're doing, what the commission has concluded the focus areas are and what we're doing around that. They will probably have suggestions, and I think, we would listen to them, in a serious way. But it's really more of a status check-in, as partly as a gesture, as a matter of respect to them. But I don't see it either as being kind of a formalized report out, or the other way, as you say, taking directions from them, because we'll never get anything done if that's the case. So it's just
Okay,
making nice
cool.
so that, we don't have a problem, in the reception of whatever we produce.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for, I'm glad you agree with me. Thanks for backing me up. But, that doesn't mean I don't want to hear, I want to hear everybody's position on this. And there's going to be time. I'm going to cut everybody off in a few minutes. We got to set agendas and set the next meeting. But there will be time at the next meeting for more on this. Okay. I don't want to cut anybody off on this topic. All right. So
I agree with you. I don't think, yeah, we have time to have any more, long meetings, and I think it's great that if we're good, if we know what we are here for, and giving them a half-hour chat is really, a good gesture, then yeah, like, let's just go with that. That's good.
I think that's what I had envisioned, something like what Mark put words to. Now, what that looks like is going to be, the reality is going to, that's going to be driven by them too. So, you don't always get what you want. So we'll see, but that's my vision at least. Jeff, please.
And I guess nothing stops any of these senators or representatives from reaching out to any of us or to the commission officially in a letter. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
it is a great gesture to go and sit down with the head honchos at the two committees.
100%. I expected to have communication to the commission today, follow up from the hearing, but we didn't have any. And we could the next time, because I don't doubt their staff are watching these hearings, because since they're on YouTube, the staff used to come to the meetings when they used to be in the live and at the department's building. So they're probably watching this right now on YouTube. All right. Anybody else got anything for today? We got a few minutes before I move on to the next thing. All right, so let's skip number 7. We got an update from the evaluation committee earlier. This number 7 is continued discussion of topics for the commission to focus on in the hiring of consultants. Had that in there just in case. So skipping that, discussion of topics for the commission to study in-house. So I'll run out of time. I'm just going to list these out. Sorry, was there a comment? Oh, my bad. So I have, retirement income. This is like hybrid plans or whatever. John and Jessica were talking about this. I've got a general regressivity topic. Housing affordability is still out there. We decided not to go with a consultant, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss that, and bring in somebody from DBAT to give us some information or whatever we want to do. Credits and exemptions. I think there's work we can do, even though the consultant is going to have that in their report. And then I have pyramiding that came up, related to competitiveness and kind of related to regressivity. Came up at a previous meeting. I have a couple contacts on pyramiding that can come in and give us sort of like, counter views, this view on pyramiding and that view on pyramiding, and the same thing for regressivity. When we get to that, if we can get our schedules arranged and be, they're in Eastern time, so it'd be late for them, but we can probably pull that off. So that is the topics for in-house that I have on my list. So number one question is, did I miss something? Because I'm looking at scribble notes and I rewatched all our meetings in 2x speed on YouTube, so I might have missed some. So I guess my other question while y'all are thinking or considering if there's anything else for the in-house meetings is number one, there's time to add to this based on other topics that you have, from what came up at the hearing and stuff like that. But there's also, we need to kind of decide on something to cover at the next meeting, because at the next meeting, we're going to still be waiting on the consultant situation. You know what I mean? So in that meantime, we got to use those meetings for these. So is there any, we will be discussing this issue with the ledge as we just covered, and we'll be discussing some of those topics. But as far as this list, did I miss anything? And is there anything that stands out as something that y'all kind of want to go to next time? If we'd run out of time, I had a pick here for today, but if we'd had more time. So what do y'all think?
Sorry, so you said, I guess this list is in addition to the pieces from the questions, because I think we
Yeah,
can
this is
add,
the
areas of Hawaii's tax code to revisit, or that could generate more revenue. I think 6 is credits, which you have on your list.
all right. Yeah, the ones I listed are just the ones that we had come up with in the previous, 5
Okay.
meetings. Those scribble notes I had and rewatching the meetings. So I added that. That's based on like number 4 or 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, that was number 5, about specific taxes or
yeah.
areas of Hawaii tax code to revisit. So maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily credits and exemptions, but anything else that could possibly generate revenue. I think
Mhm.
we can bring ideas to the
Cool.
table
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
people have. I had some thoughts, so I know we're trying to generate revenue, so.
All right. Well, please write those down and bring them, next time or whenever we cover that.
Yeah. And the other one was just tax policy or tax administration challenges was their question.
Okay.
Just a thought, is this a question really for Bay Bars and Doe Tax in terms of, what thoughts you all have, on the revenue side? I know Doe Tax is supposed to be a neutral body, but I would also think that, as you guys, are always working this area, are there opportunities that you all see that maybe we don't?
Not that I can think of myself, but Jonathan has has been. What is there someone or some division we could ask, Jonathan, you think?
I think that might be, I don't know if that's, I don't know. No, I don't have an answer to that. Might be something we have to have to let the department staff punt on, and
Yeah.
if they if they want to, because I mean, just I can't speak for the department, but like the thing that was done in 2024, the income tax changes, that was a governor's policy thing. So if the department says something, it kind of can reflect the entire administration and stuff. So, and then I'm sensitive to taking direction from the Senate, as I've made very, very clear today. I'm also sensitive to taking direction from the department for the, similar reasons.
Yeah.
But
Agree.
but it is the tax department, so they do have some input. Whether it's appropriate to share or not is a different question. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Mark.
it may not be appropriate, as the more I think about it. Because I think there's a reason why, typically you don't take a policy stand on these ideas. Maybe it's around regressivity and the pyramiding. I mean, those are two front and center topics.
Get
A
started
lot
with
of
that.
work has already been done.
Okay. So the agenda can be set, we can add stuff to the agenda. So if anybody has a strong opinion, let me know. Me and Judy usually communicate with Bybars and set up the agenda. So you can let me or Judy or Bybars know. But let's set regressivity and pyramiding kind of as tentative for next time. I'll talk to Bybars about if there's a, short presentation he can make. Or what would be great is we can go back and watch the old version of Bybars, who was at our confirmation hearing, Seth Colby. He used to be in Bybars' position. He did a presentation on regressivity to the last Tax Review Commission, so you could go find that just to get us started. And I'll reach out to my contacts and see if I can get one or the other of them. What I'd like to do is have both, one at one meeting and one at the other. Probably talk 20 minutes each, and give us kind of different viewpoints of pyramiding and regressivity. If I could set that up, that'd be great.
And I'm just thinking also, Jonathan, I mean, if Baybars and Michael come back from their research saying we can do this parallel path with UHERO, would we want to do a joint interview of UHERO? I mean, just to advance the process.
Yeah. I see what you mean. As far as what they can, like, as far as answering the question whether we want to engage them.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
I assume that
happened last time.
Will want to have a chance to talk with them, and I guess we have to do it in a sunshine compliant meeting. So is that something we should try to point towards?
Yeah, I don't think everything has to be done. I think there's room for you to reach out and stuff, or you and Judy, if y'all are want to extend the evaluation committee to that. I'm perfectly happy with that. But yeah, it'd be great to have have you, a representative UHERO here at the meeting to do that. I think that happened last time with the UHERO people setting that up, watching the old videos. So yes, that is perfectly appropriate. And that's actually not, I didn't mean to say perfectly appropriate. I meant that is good. And something I think we're all interested in. So I'm going to have to cut everybody off now. We have to schedule the next meeting. So let's get our calendars out. Who has the most, next time, who has the most calendars to look at? I've got 3. So let me know next time who's got more than 3. I'm sure somebody has more than 3. All right. I don't have kids because kids would add a 4th. All right. So I'm thinking with what we got, and we have the RFP or request for whatever it's called, the request for services or whatever out there. I think we can go a month. So we could do, some Tuesday in like late June. I'm not dying to get a meeting in 2 weeks like I was a couple of meetings ago. So we're going to keep Tuesday. Yeah, so a month from now would be the Tuesday, June 23rd. A week before that would be June 16th. I don't have much until the very end of June, so I'm pretty open. What do y'all think? June 16th. Jeff, you have a question? June
16th works better for me. 23rd, I gotta do some stuff.
16? Anybody else? Any issue with 16? June 16, 2 p.m.
Is it possible to meet a little later, like at 3 to 5 instead of 2 to 4?
I can. Anybody else? 3 to 5? All right.
That'd help me out.
All right, June 16th, 3 to 5.
Yeah.
5 hours. 5 hours. 3 to 5. Can we do 3 to 5?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
sorry.
sure.
Rick.
Yeah, so we might have to. If we get the conference room, normally we're supposed to provide public access to a physical terminal. So, and then the business hours end at 4:30. I mean, it's not a problem for me, but I work at
So
all hours.
if we can do 2:30 to 4:30, does that make it easier for the department?
Yeah,
5 hours?
it would.
Okay. Is that a can we compromise that, Mark, and you turn up a little late?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Does that work? June 16th, 2:30 to 4:30.
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay. So curveball is I already know the answer to this question because Mark's got an issue with the timing. Is can we do this meeting in person at the department? Is that possible?
Yeah, I can do.
Is everybody going to be around on that day? You can try it.
I think I can.
Okay. I'm looking at Jeff now. It's going to require some admin on 5 hours part 2. So I'm looking at him.
Yeah, I'm open that day, so I could get over there.
Okay. And even if we do in person, we're going to have the conference room has connectivity. So
Yes.
if it doesn't work out, you can call in, or if there's something comes up and you need to sign in from your home on Oahu for one or the other of us, that's no problem. But I feel like I rewatched the meetings, and this first meeting after the second meeting, I said we need to have some in-person meetings. We're going to butt heads eventually, and we're getting there. We're starting to butt heads a little, which is fine by me. Iron sharpens iron. So, all right. So I'll pursue the in-person meeting June 16, 2:30 to 4:30, and we will let you know about that. All right. We have a tentative agenda item for regressivity and pyramiding, and then the communication with the ledge stuff as well. All right. Anything else? Got a couple minutes here. All right. Thanks everyone.
Hey, where's the office? Sorry.
830 Punch Bowl Street.
Oh, yeah, downtown. All right.
Downtown.
My favorite.
Yeah, we'll figure out the logistics. We need to check if we have the room available, and I think
Right.
we can get you parking if you need, things like that.
Okay.
We're at the kind of like Queen Street and Punch Bowl, if you kind of.
If you're coming from the airport, bus is actually very easy at this point.
Oh,
Quick and right down Nimitz.
Good to know.
okay.
All right. Anything else? All right. 3:59 p.m. The TRC meeting for today is adjourned. Thanks everyone. It's a productive
Thank you.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.